Welcome everybody. My name is Sol. Welcome to the training room. I'm happy to be with you here. Please, as always, before we start, change the settings on your chat so all attendees and panelists can see what you type. That way, it's more interesting for everyone, and that way everyone sees what you type and not only me. So it's more interactive. And second, as always, quick disclaimer, we're going to be analyzing, maybe trading live market conditions. So anything I show here is not meant to be a buy or sell signal. This webinar is for educational purposes, and it's only the way I see the markets and I read the markets and I trade the markets. So probably it's not the best way to trade for you. So I just want to show you some concept that you can apply on your own situation. Now let me share my screen. Platform. Okay, can you all see my screen? Perfect. Yeah, great. Now, okay. Now, as usual on Mondays, we give like an overview of the pairs on the larger time frames. We want to know where our key levels are or what can we expect for this next week. So we're gonna go over the major pairs on the daily and major time frames. And of course, if you have any question or any time frame or any currency pair that you want to analyze together, of course, just type it on the chat and we'll go ahead. Yeah, Barry, this meeting will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. So just make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and you can see the recording there. We don't upload all the recordings, but Mondays we do that. So just check there. Okay, so let's start here. I'll go briefly over the majors, and then if you have any specific one, we'll go with pleasure. Okay. Okay, let's start with the Euro USD. You know, many of you might know this is my favorite pair when I'm day trading. So let's review the key levels on it on the dailies. The momentum is slowing down, but has been bullish for the last weeks, even months. Okay, we have been in this uptrend. However, you can see, let me delete this. And we have been slowing down. We faced back here. We faced some maybe supply from here, maybe resistance, whatever, that it just stopped and even failed to go all the way to the top. Now this movement now, this little channel here, has been forming lower highs. Okay, if we go to lower time frames, we can see in more detail the lower highs. You can see this lower high, this lower high, this lower low, this lower low. We're forming a nice channel up here, and we're not really sure when does this channel ends and to what direction the breakout is going to be. This might be only a pullback in preparation for the next big movement to the upside, and that would bring the price all the way to the tops. Or this could be the start of a bearish move. Okay, if we analyze, look at this. Okay, this last formation, okay, this divergence here, it was kind of similar than this one back here. Okay, you can see this divergence, and back then we talk about it, and that all caused a big breakdown and then some sideways movement and a bearish movement. So maybe this movement will create something similar, you know, a slowing momentum and a downward movement, or if there's some fundamentals or news or something that will driven this market, this might just break higher. If we go to shorter time frames and we analyze here, you will be able to see some demand. So maybe this channel might continue all the way to those levels, or even to the demand area before even breaking higher or breaking lower. Okay, as we go into the summer months, you might heard of sell in May and go away. Okay, all the big traders and big institutions, as the summer arrives, there's less volume and less volatility, and there's less directional movement in the market. So we might see a slowing down in the market. So probably for a few weeks, we might see just some compressionary movements and very slow movements. Okay. So right now, I don't see any clear signal or any clear bias here on the dailies. Of course, on the short-term time frames, there's a different story. We might go afterwards to review that. Right now, my bias would be neutral, slightly bullish, but neutral. I believe all these kind of sideways movements and without a clear bias will stop. I believe it's on Wednesday when there's the FOMC statements. That might be the trigger of a new trend, of a new directional movement. Till then, I don't believe we will see important directional movements. Okay, so that's the Euro USD. Not a super clear picture right here. Okay, a lot of mixed signals. Pound dollar, it's similar, but at least with clear levels. Okay, it's a clearer picture. You can see this super nice, very nice box consolidation, and this range. You can see how price has been just moving up and down, up and down, up and down. All of you who trade ranging strategies, you should be doing just fine past weeks on the pound dollar. The market has been respecting this up and down limit, so you could be selling tops and buying the bottoms, and just playing inside the consolidation. Again, after, especially on the dailies, when we tend to see this kind of sideways movement, be prepared for a big breakout, okay, to the downside or to the upside. Now, what direction the breakout will be, hope I knew, correct? But I believe if it's going to break, we need to see some fundamentals behind that in order to create a fundamental breakout. And for that, we need to wait for a news release, an important release that will make this market to break either to the upside or to the downside. And we can expect, after a range like that, a consolidation, a sideways movements like that long, prepare for a big breakout and possibly the beginning of a new trend once it breaks. Besides that, I don't see much more than, of course, we have done some demand here. So first breakout, if it breaks to the downside, first target would be there. If it breaks to the upside, we would have to go back to those levels. So there's a lot of room there. Okay, those are the lines that I have here. Okay, but until there, just ranging. Okay, not much, not a lot of price action. Pound yen has been respecting demand beautifully. I also uploaded this idea on the trading ideas page, and has been working just fine. We had this bullish movement, sideways movement, breakout, and also that breakout created a new and fresh demand back here. Now those lines, I drew those weeks ago. Okay, if you go to the hourly charts and you analyze the demand area, you can see this is the breaking point, this is the decision point, and this is the bottom part of the demand area. Okay, so I drew those, and look how price has been respecting those areas. Okay, how precise it was to the decision point and reacted from there, came back, tested the breaking point. Now it's moving upwards, and the way it just compressed towards the demand, that was a great buying opportunity. I hope some of you took advantage of it. So we should see some continuation to the upside. If that happens, we should see prices again at these tops. If that fails, of course, we'll see a reverse. And next demand to stop the movement down here. And last, down here. So those are the key levels. But if you didn't take advantage of the first touch of the demand, and let's see if this is a worth trade. If you buy just now, you place your stop, you would have 85 pip stop loss, let's say. And that would be kind of a one-to-one, so it's not the best trade. But a buy limit down there, that was a great trade, because I advised to place the stops down there. So that was a better entry point. Okay, so that's the pound yen. Any case, regardless this trade, the trend for me is still intact and bullish. So I would try to align myself with that trend. I will try to take buy positions. Okay. The CAD, of course, the CAD, all the year. Yeah, it's going to be about 1 year that we have had only bearish pressure and bearish trend, and it even accelerated this last month, okay, with this breakdown. Now, if we go to the weeklies, you can also see we're sitting on a demand level. Okay, you can see the red line and all that area. That's the last demand available. So without fundamentals, I'm not sure we're going to see a breakdown from that level. So that also provides an opportunity for a quick buy. Okay, there's a lot of interest from many organizations to hold prices there. And if we go in detail to this, to how this is forming, let's go to the hourly. You can see we have kind of forming higher lows. You can see this. So we had this formation of, we're trying to push higher, like buyers are coming in earlier and earlier and earlier, like at higher points, the buyers are coming in trying to push this higher. Still not a super clear, a very clear supply demand area form. There's not a lot of momentum here. If you see the price action on the weeklies, you can see how tiny these candles have been. Weeks at the top, bottom, weeks top on the bottom. And last week kind of had a bullish candle, but not very powerful. So this could have a try to push higher. There's supply there and there's supply there. So I'm not sure we're going to break those supplies levels that easily. But I think there's a lot of interest to keep or to prevent prices to continue lower, okay, from these levels. So we might see that attempt to go higher to either this level or that level. Of course, if that breaks, we might see prices all the way to the red line, which is the last point. And if that doesn't hold, just sit back, because that's going to run to the downwards very, very aggressively. Okay, but right now I'm more inclined to take little buy positions, okay, because I have control risk down here. Down franc, not much. Price has reacted to demand areas. We have demand here and demand down there, and we have reacted to those demands, but nothing has happened. Okay, there hasn't been a change in the direction. Okay, it reacted to that demand back here, but it failed to continue, and we reacted back here and now again. but it failed to continue and to reverse this trend. So the bearish pressure is there. We do see a divergence here. I do see it. I would have to confirm that, but you can see these lower lows are being formed with less momentum and less power behind it. So we might see an attempt to go maybe higher, but overall, the short-term trade or trend is to the downside. And the dollar has been very, very weak. Literally, we can see that reflected here. Again, not very clear key levels, not very clear trends or patterns or anything. There's a lot of choppiness and a lot of consolidations. Okay, dollar yen, our supply right there. We haven't tested that yet. We might be going in that direction. We're forming this nice channel. We're expecting that. At least here we have an alignment on a large an uptrend and an up channel. So and I don't see any clear demand here. So no demand. I don't see demand there. I would say there's demand, of course, there, but I don't see prices going there in the near time. Let me see how is that forming. Yeah, and even here, there's no clear demand. Okay, you can see there's no demand. Of course, there's some tiny demand here, but there's no aggressive continuation. So again, not a lot of volume. I would say this is going to be of course, a support level and kind of a key level. We do have supply up there, and this nice channel forming. So I would try to align myself with the bias and the trend, which is to the upside. So I would try to buy this market more than I would try to sell it. Aussie and New Zealand, okay, it's a very choppy market and a lot of sideways movement. Market's not sure what it wants to do. If you draw a box like that, that would be a false breakout. That would be a false breakout. So every time the market is trying to go away from this range, has been rejected and pushed back to the consolidation, to the ranging box. So similar to the pound, you can buy the bottoms and sell the tops. Again, we will eventually see a breakout of that with some fundamentals behind. I don't know when it's that going to happen. We're kind of shrinking in volatility. You can see this formation. So we're getting closer and closer to this kind of flag, and eventually a breakout has to come, correct? But until Wednesday at least, with the FOMC statement, I don't see a breakout happening. Okay, but again, not a lot of trend. There's no bias. These are great times for our ranging strategies. All of you who trade, I don't know, with Bollinger Bands or strategies like that, you should be doing great these times. And the Euro Yen, it looks similar to the pound yen back here, but here it failed to respect the demand. There was a demand area here at the red line, and it broke it down. Now it's kind of holding and trying to push it back higher. But you can see at least here the trend is very clear. We're forming higher highs. We're pulling back. This might be just a pullback in order to continue higher. It's early to say. This is the beginning of I don't see any reversal pattern or anything to tell me this is the beginning of a bearish movement or a bearish new trend, I will be trying to buy this more than than selling. This is a yen play. Okay, we can see the yen weakening against the euro, the yen weakening against the dollar, and the yen weakening against the pound. So we're just eventually trying to sell the yen. Okay, the dollar is very weak, but apparently the yen is weaker than the dollar. Okay. Now let me go to the chat to see if there's some. Rick, so pound yen we've gone through, and we can check pound franc. Christopher, just please change your settings so everyone can see what you type. Okay, now I'll answer what's at the divergence. So if you, I spoke about divergence here. So divergence is higher highs and higher lows in the same direction, but with less momentum, with less power behind. Okay, so if you I'll try to draw it for you or something. So this would be like a normal trend, higher highs, higher lows, correct? But if you start to form higher highs, but every time with less power, okay, those are still higher highs, but you can, but the momentum or the the interest behind it, it's gone. Okay, it's out of the market, and you can expect that to be the early stages of a reversal movement. So back here we had it, and we tried to support that with an indicator. So you can check that with a MACD or an RSI. Let's do that. Let's see if we can do that now. Okay, let's throw a MACD, and we'll throw an RSI. Okay, so if you look at these highs back here, you can see they're forming higher highs in price. But look at what's the strength in each one of those. Okay, but look at that. Okay, let me see the MACD. What was? Okay, same here. You see the okay. So price is forming higher highs, but without strength. And I think we might have the same here. So let me see the RSI. So we have these higher highs, but you can see the divergence there. Okay, so there's no strength behind the higher highs. So every push higher is weaker and weaker. So momentum is slowing down. Okay, so that's the divergence. Yeah, summer is always boring for the Forex market. I agree. I do agree. Marinko, my criteria on GBP long. Yeah, I think I explained it. Demand and compression channel towards that demand. Okay, that would need my criteria. Align it with the general uptrend. So that's a lot of alignments. New Zealand, yeah. Let me go to the New Zealand. Kiwi dollar and yen and Aussie dollar, they're very similar. So false breakout. Okay, we had this drop, base, and rally. Back then, okay, back in time, I was thinking this was going to reverse, okay, to go to the downside. We had, okay, just back here, we had this lower high, and then we broke and we created supply there, and the price didn't respect supply, okay, came all the way back to the tops and has been just stuck there. So again, we could be buying now, and expecting market to go again to the upside, but eventually a break will happen to the top or to the bottom. That's the next movement. So very similar to the Aussie. Feroz, my method is, yeah, supply and demand. Yeah, I trade based off key levels. So key levels then form patterns. You might have heard of head and shoulders and Quasimodos, and all those patterns are formed because of the supply and demand, or a lack of supply and demand. So if you study and understand key levels and price action, so that's what I do. New Zealand franc, yeah, let's check that one. Okay, so it's similar to the dollar franc. There's a lot of alignment, correlation between all these pairs. Compressing channel. And we're kind of approaching these areas with, I don't see very clear demand. There was demand. This was a clear demand. So that's the reaction of that demand. Okay, that was the reaction to that demand back there, and it failed to continue. Okay, to reverse this channel. Now we have sold off again. I believe this has to continue. It might continue up in order to continue down all the way to those levels, probably. So it's going to respect this channel, okay, this channel formation, until we have fundamental either on the Kiwi or the franc, and that might cause the next breakout, okay, to the upside or to the downside from this channel. Sean, I will answer your question. It's a great question. Just please change so everyone can see what you asked. Do you recommend only the extreme swing highs and lows for supply and demand entries, or will you take mid-range setups? I will take both. I prefer the extreme ones, because then my risk is very, very controlled. I'm very certain of when I need to get out, okay, where my stop loss need to be. The mid-range ones tend to be a bit trickier. You kind of see a lot of false breakouts, or a complete penetration of the demand just in order to come back in your favor. So I prefer the extreme ones, extreme highs and lows. But if I see a very clear mid-range one, I will take it. Okay, I will just adapt my risk accordingly. Rick, how you determine the JPY strength? There's a lot of indicators that will measure strength for you, but it's very obvious. You can see that with your eyes. You can see every pair against the yen has been strengthening. So you can see the euro against the yen strengthening. You can see the dollar yen strengthening, and you can see the pound yen strengthening. So you can see a correlation across all yen pairs, being the yen the weak pair. So right now, I guess one of the weakest pairs in the board is one of the weakest currency in the board is the yen. Okay, but there's some strength indicators, currency strength indicators, and you can help with that. JLYB, my preferred risk reward. On my long-term setups, ideally I look for a 2-to-1. But on my intraday trading, I'm comfortable with a 1-to-1. In my intraday and scalping trading, I have a very high risk ratio that compensates for my break-even risk reward. On my long-term setups, because they present themselves less commonly, so I want them to be better setups with a high risk reward. Marinko, dollar yen, I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be dollar Aussie long. Let's throw that. Okay, this one is kind of less clear. Okay, you can see more sideways movement. So these are very, very neutral. Okay, I wouldn't say it's a neutral market. J Pro New Zealand CAD. Let's look at that. So if you think of the New Zealand CAD, it's sitting on those levels there. And the same as dollar CAD, there's a lot of, that's like a key support on the dollar CAD. We saw it. I guess this is the same for the Kiwi CAD. So there's a lot of bearish momentum. You can see higher lows and the pressure to the downside. But I don't see a break of this without fundamentals, because a break of those levels would lead market all the way to those levels, and if that fails, all the way probably to those levels. So I would be more inclined to sell. When we get to these supply areas, I would like to sell more than to buy right now. Especially because we had this first touch of the demand, now a second time, and now a third time. So there has been some reaction here, but market's struggling to really reverse this trend. So the bearish pressure is there, and I would be more happy to short this market on a pullback, on a retracement. Sean, I would trade the pattern definitely, because sometimes we draw our zones, our supply and demand zones or levels or whatever, but we need to remember those are wide zones. But if it gets broken by a few pips, it's still within the zone parameters or the borders. So I would trade a pattern if I see it. Johnny, so you see USD starting to strengthen. I am correct? Just very slightly. Lately, maybe the last week, but it's strengthening on a very weak manner. If you go and see the dollar index, you will see that kind of bullish days, but very weak bullish days. So my long-term picture for the dollar is a weak dollar. Okay, once inflation starts to kick in, I don't see the dollar strengthening anytime soon. There was a request, euro franc. Let's look at that. Should seem similar to the dollar franc. Let's see. Okay, this is a nice chart. At least we have some movement. So we have this break. Let me see if there's some supply here. I will go ahead and look at that. And also we're testing the, could be the, no, it's kind of high, but what could be the breaking point of all that past sideways movement? I would have to go to lower time frames and see where's the demand being formed. So I'll do that right now. Just let me see. Okay, so yeah, so we can see supply here. Not super clear, and we have tested it once. So a weak supply there. Let me go to the, I want to go back to the breaking area. Okay, so look at this. This is fascinating because what looks like a big breakout back here, if you go and analyze it on the lower time frames, you can see how weak that was. See how these tiny candles, they're okay. This is the breakout, but it's super weak. You can see how it's formed, just a compressionary channel. So I would say the demand is only here. Okay, that's a nice breakout and demand. All below that, that's not demand. So let me look at that now. Okay, so that's where it's demand. We have already tested and failed to react to. We saw all this is not really demand. Okay, it's just a compressionary channel. So I'm not sure that's going to hold. So you could either sell these areas. This is a resistance level, and we could see a next leg lower. That would be one option, or to wait for price to keep dropping and then to buy. But my next trade here would be a sell. Okay, I would wait for a retracement to that area and then I would sell. That would be my call. Buy sure, New Zealand dollar, 15-minute sell. I'll go ahead, but just tell me why you think. And Sean, head and shoulders pattern with supply and demand areas, would you enter on the retest of the neckline once it's broken, or would it be the break of the neck? Yeah, so those are very, there's two different ways of trading, and I'll go to the New Zealand dollar, Kiwi dollar, because I can give you that example there. Clean this a little bit. Okay, so if you have a, okay, and let's just stay there. So if you have a head and shoulders pattern, okay, this is not the perfect one, but you have, this neckline. So you can place a sell stop order and try to catch the breakout itself, like you proposed, or you can wait for price to come back to the breaking point and then to sell again. Now, both trades are valid. Of course, you have advantages and disadvantages of both of them. If you can get the break itself, that's a great trade. But you might be caught on false breakouts. Okay? Just that's the risk of trying to trade that. But if you do see a break and there's new supply formed, and then you try to sell the first touch of the neckline, you usually see a continuation lower. Okay, of course, in this example, it failed to happen. But usually when you have a head and shoulders or a reversal pattern, a Quasimodo or whatever, you can trade the breakout, or you can trade the first retest of the breakout level. Both trades valid. And you're proposing, Bashu, a sell. Okay, so you see supply, and I would agree. And it's also approaching on a compression channel. So this is a nice call, and this is an example of a mid-range supply. So that would be a valid short. I would agree. I would really like the price to continue and really go and at least touch this red line inside the area, and then I would look to short. That's a nice call. Do not forget on the larger picture that every time prices have gone to these lows, they have just go higher. Okay, we're still trading inside this box. So you could, that could be a nice scalp, but I'm not sure we're going to see a break of those lows. Okay, just keep that in mind. Barry, how to spot supply and demand? I would recommend you to go to the YouTube channel, and there's 2 playlists on these topics. But yeah, it really is a big move after a range. Okay, but an aggressive disconnection from price, from a consolidation or a sideways movement. Okay? But it's usually has to be caused because by a fundamental movement. Okay? Okay, guys, let me see if I find a quick setup on the lower time frames. We'll take it, and if not, we'll just wrap up. Just let me. Okay, so my favorite is this one, okay, in pound yen, because it is aligned with the larger picture that I told you to go long. So if I go to the 5-minute chart and I see this increasing momentum, okay, you can see, and this is regarding the divergence. Okay, now we do not have the divergence. We have higher highs forming with more strength behind it. So this is a nice uptrend within or forming a larger time frame. Okay, a larger setup. So I love this kind of setup. So I would now wait for a pullback. Okay, this is not a good spot to buy, but I'll wait for price to come back. I would like prices to come back, maybe to these levels, and then I'll try to buy. Okay, and that way I'm aligning myself to the larger movement. So that would be my setup. If I will continue. In fact, I will continue after the trading room, trading by myself. So this is the pair I will be looking to trade today. Okay, so that's my setup for now. I expect the pullback to come soon because we're going to be facing those levels. Okay, all that resistance. So we should see the pullback coming in the near future, and then I'll try to buy this market and try to catch the next leg. Or okay, guys, we'll wrap up now. Thanks for coming. Mondays are just an overall look to the pairs. What can we expect for the week? Be aware. Look at those economic calendars because we have big announcements on Wednesday, especially. So we might see the break of those ranging markets finally. Okay. Overall, as we go into the summer, we can expect slowing momentum and weaker setups and weaker trends. So also take that into account in your trading. And thanks for coming, guys. Tomorrow, I'm not sure who's going to be hosting the trading room, but it's going to be a more active and trading room. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you, and see you next week. Bye bye.